¿Qué tal? Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos.
Hello, good afternoon, welcome. Now we are really at the end of FICA 2011. Thank you for coming to the closure, the last plenary session at FICA. I don't know if you are conscious of the fact that throughout these 3 days we have participated in around 300 different topics, 300 different speakers. You have participated in 107 workshops, 18 special actions, 25 seminars, 11 roundtables, and with this one, 6 plenary sessions have taken place here. So thank you for participating. Thank you for making FICA 2011 real. I also want to thank speakers and moderators. And now, to wrap up, we are going to have a Spanish social network that's still going forward. In 2420, the new telco 2.0, Erik Schultink, CDO of Tuenti, is going to talk about the first virtual mobile operator with social character, and he's also going to talk about total connectivity. So I want to introduce you to Erik Schultink, and you've got the floor. Please, a big round of applause for him.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me to speak to you today. This is a great event, and as a sort of homegrown company from here in Madrid, we're very excited to have a presence here and tell you a little bit about what we've built at Tuenti during the last 4 years, and then also what we're building currently and into the future with Tu, which is our new mobile operator. So to begin, just what I'm going to talk about today is a bit about what Tuenti is, how we grew it, what was important in that growth, what lessons we learned throughout that time, and also then what we see as the mobile web today, how that's changed during our time, and then the opportunity that we think it's created to build Tu, which is sort of the next generation of mobile operator that plays into that mobile web ecosystem. So we'll talk then about just what Tu is and some of the interesting social features that it has today and some of the possibilities for the future, as well as sort of the basics of the telco world that we've had to build during the last 14 months in order to make all of it possible. So I'll try and talk a little bit about that and then leave some time at questions for the end if there's something you'd like me to go into a bit deeper. All right, and the Twitter information is at the bottom if you'd like to talk about Tu, Tuenti, or anything like that, please feel free. So what is Tuenti? Well, we began in January 2007. We launched Tuenti, and from an initial pool of about 1,000 seed users who were friends of the founders and so forth, we grew in an invite-only, truly organic way. The site was truly viral in that sense and grew from there, and very much a social product. It's now today the most trafficked website in Spain in terms of page views and content and so forth. It has over 8 million active users, and they're extremely active. We have over 200 million chat messages sent per day within our network, and so there's a lot of engagement, a lot of communication. It's highly social. We're currently now, the company has 250 employees. Over half of them, 150, are in product development related stuff. Engineering, product, and design. That's the heritage of our company, and that's what we feel is key to our success and key to building innovative new products is our investment and our focus on that development workforce. So then, what is our heritage? So some of the values, simple. We started really small. And out of necessity, we had to keep everything very simple, focused on what would make the product great. So for those first couple years, it was just the core social features and then scaling that. How we could take that and grow it to a product used by millions of users was to focus on this scaling, which meant everything was lean out of necessity. We had to, keep very focused on communication, adding friends, and sharing content, and really build that out as we scaled. Out of necessity in that scaling, we had to use proven technologies that kept our lives simple, allowed us to focus on the hard problems, and was definitely a lesson we learned. Social. As I mentioned, the product was invite only. That's how we grew the network. It's also how all of our privacy worked. It's truly privacy based on the social graph in the sort of most canonical form. All your privacy is driven by who are your friends and who are your friends of friends. So in that sense, you know, those are your only choices of who can see your photos, for example. It's either your friends of friends, everyone. You know, that's, for example, the types of settings that are possible. Nothing more complicated than that. So it was truly social, truly by invite only. And then it was limited within the website itself, and still is today. We don't index any user content in Google, usernames in Google, anything like that. So you really are sharing with your friends, not sharing with Google. And that allows you to, and allows our users to feel a lot more comfortable sharing content, communicating with their friends, because it truly is a more private experience. So high engagement. This was another value that we've been fortunate to have from day one. And some of the features that I think have led to that was our early focus on AJAX. Our early focus on building an interface that was really engaging was just that ability to have a very immersive AJAX interface where after the initial page load, everything was happening behind the scenes, and you were doing simpler types of HTTP requests that would rotate out the content of the canvas area of the page and things like that. That meant that we could do a lot of things around the browser. It was not only faster to do, but you could view photos. We could prefetch photos that were in the future. You could watch videos while you were using other features of the website because the video player would dock itself in the corner of the screen. And you could have chat conversations because your chat buddy list was always docked along the bottom of the screen, and your conversations you could have 6 or 7 or 8 conversations open along the bottom of your screen with no problem. Continue to use all the features of the website while you were carrying on these conversations. And so that was something that was in our heritage for the first 4 years. You know, all these features have been baked into our website and allowed it to be an extremely engaging experience and also an extremely fast user experience when we you know, had a lot of that functionality exposed there through that interface. Okay. Another thing we've tried to embrace was being mobile and being cross-platform. It's really important that you think of your product not just in how it looks in the sort of desktop interface, but that it's present in a variety of mobile interfaces and now other types of devices as well. And in our view, we try and think of these things as interfaces, not separate products. You know, your iPhone application, it's a different user experience of your product, but it's not a different product. And that's been important in how we think, you know, being able to think holistically about the product and all the sort of use cases, be it, you know, at a traditional computer or through a phone. And then being present in mobile devices is key to keeping our users always connected. That's something that we feel as a social network is important that we embrace, that we can be what keeps you always connected to your friends. And that's something that, as you'll see in Building 2, is an important part of what we're trying to accomplish. And then scale. As I said, we had to grow a lot, and so we had to learn a few lessons in that along the way. 2 things I wanted to just emphasize out of that was in scaling anything, you need to learn to focus. You know, once you're worrying about more than one user, that you need to be concerned with throughput, not response time. By which I mean how many pages can you serve in a second, not serving a page in under a second. And in this consideration, you need to worry about percentiles, not averages. Why? Because it doesn't really matter, you know, if 9 out of 10 pages are really fast, if that 10th page is really slow. And that's what, from a technical side in particular, you really need to focus on. Because usually it's not really that 9 out of 10 pages are really slow. Usually it's your power users that have thousands of photos, hundreds of friends, are using the website all the time, are the heaviest users. They have the most content, they have the most dynamic pages, And so they're the ones that are going to suffer the most if your website is slow. So they're the ones you have to take care of. And that's why it's important to focus on what their experience, the extremes, and how good that quality is. Okay, and then agile iteration has been part of our product development process for a long time. Moving quickly, getting something out the door, then getting user feedback on that, proving the market, proving what the market wants, and then once you learn these lessons, iterating upon that and incorporating the user feedback, having a tight cycle through your customer support teams of getting that communication back to your development teams and incorporating that as early as possible into your actual product. All right, and then top talent. This has been a big focus of us in growing the company. We're fortunate to be able to attract talent from a bunch of countries and search pretty wide for people, which has enabled us to focus on a couple things. First, hiring people smarter than ourselves. This is really the key to building a team, and well, to some extent, the bane of our recruiters' existences, because they always complain that it's harder to get someone hired today than it was a year ago. But that's by design. We always want to hire better and better and better people and keep making the quality of our team even better today than it was before. The second thing to consider in hiring is that culture fits matter, that how someone fits into our team and our culture is really important, and that needs to be a hiring consideration. And then once you have these smart people, you got to make it easy for them to do their jobs. So, make the processes as sort of fluid as possible, non-blocking, and provide the conveniences in your office, food, and whatever sorts of perks and benefits help enable them to focus on their work and not have to worry about these other things. All right, so the mobile web. So I wanted to talk a bit about the sort of general mobile web ecosystem and how it's evolved. So this is sort of a picture from, well, for lack of a better sort of differentiation, sort of pre-iPhone. So the mobile web world had sort of these two broad categories. One side being sort of the operators, which were the traditional telcos that provided your fixed line and mobile connectivity for users. On the other side was everything that those users were trying to use this connectivity to reach, which is content in the form of TV shows, movies, video, etc., and then applications, web applications at this point in time, which were things like Gmail, social networks, any other types of sort of web applications as stuff moved online in the Web 2.0 days. And so that was the picture. Post iPhone, and really once the iPhone incorporated the App Store, you started to have a much more complicated ecosystem where you had device manufacturers suddenly take on a lot more power and a lot more role in how the market was defined and how users actually connected with content and with applications. And so what you ended up happening is that suddenly these device manufacturers had signature sort of user experiences. BlackBerry had one for a while, but the iPhone really started having that very sticky user experience that had broad appeal. And this meant that device manufacturers had a lot more market-making power. They used that to create the app stores, and within the sort of app stores provide some level of gating on the distribution of content and applications to the users. They also use this power to take a billing relationship directly to the users in many cases. So now suddenly it's not just that users are paying operators, and in some cases they're paying for their content and for their applications, but they're actually paying this through the device manufacturer's platform. And so for the first time ever, the device manufacturers have something of an ongoing billing relationship with the clients. And so that has really changed the dynamics of the market and made all these boundaries sort of, disappear quite a bit, because you're starting to have now device manufacturers in the OSs incorporating a lot of features that may have at one time been more of an application than a core feature in the OS. And so these boundaries are sort of breaking down as these device manufacturers both gate what types of applications and what types of functionalities expose through apps, and also provide some of this functionality in their operating systems themselves. All right, so opportunity. So as I said, this is a pretty complex picture, and it's moving very fast and it's very chaotic, and I think everyone would understand that, it's not going to look like this for long. Some of these people are going to disappear, they're going to be destroyed, there's going to be consolidation. But in any type of cycle like that, there's the opportunity for creation, which is why we wanted to create two. We think two presents a unique opportunity to take Tuenti, which has been playing primarily in the content and application side of things, and start to sort of integrate between the operator side of things and the application and content side, because we are fundamentally a social application, a social, social content from your friends, their photos, what they post, share, etc. All that is available in Tuenti. Users want to get that, and two provides us a unique way to sort of vertically integrate that that interaction. So suddenly we can make it possible for the user to simply, from having a relationship with us on their phone, directly access our content via our mobile network. Okay, so building two. So as I said, two is a mobile operator. So what exactly does that mean? It's a new social mobile service is what we call it. So it's actually like taking the traditional mobile operator service and trying to make that social. In order to get there, we have to build a few basics. We started this process back in April 2010, defining the concept, what we thought this idea could be, why we thought this was an opportunity. We worked then defining out what we would actually need in a partner, because we weren't going to go out and build mobile towers ourselves and radio towers, but we're going to be the virtual form of operator, where we'd buy voice traffic, SMS traffic, data traffic wholesale, and then be able to resell that to our subscribers. And so we spent a while defining those requirements, looking for partners that could then meet those requirements and be our partner. And then in August 2010, we started working with earnest with Telefonica in building this. And that's where we've been moving from since. The obvious process that we had to take in building the back end was, large. So to give you an idea of what an MVNO looks like and works like, it's something like this picture here. I'll try and, this sort of stuff I've shown in black here is the telco side. That's the traditional infrastructure that's needed to actually enable the traffic to reach the end user. The user comes with their phone, comes with their SIM card that identifies the user to the network, and they use that to connect to the radio tower, which then has a connection into the back end of the telco operator and provides all those types of connectivity to the users. In this back end of the telco, you have the various sort of logging services to figure out what the users are using, to track their usage so they can be billed, to validate that they are who they say they are, to route their calls, to route their data correctly, to route their SMSs correctly. All that is sort of the traditional telco side and sits in there and is dealt with there. It has to work on both sort of the prepay model, so where users have a top-up of 10 euros or something and are spending 6 cents a minute or something to call, and then it has to work in the post-pay model as well, where you have to actually just record what the usage is and then be able to compile that into a bill at the end of the month to present to users. So all those are sort of traditional telco pieces that exist in that telco infrastructure. And what you need then in order to build an MVNO is what's called an MVNE, which is a mobile virtual network enabler. So that enables the MVNO, the mobile virtual network operator, to connect into this telco infrastructure. And in our case, that means that in the presence of various APIs and interfaces that the MVNE exposes, we're able to, from a sort of web side of things, interact with those programmatically to manage how our users are treated on this telco infrastructure. So to provision them a new phone, to bill them, to when they top up credit, we're able to trigger that top up in the infrastructure so they're able to make their calls. All these types of functionality are the types of things that the MVNE exposes. And it starts to, as we work and build that out and leverage those features, it enables us to do things like access their voicemail and do other types of things with what data they're consuming and things like that. So from the MVNE, we leverage all this functionality in our MVNO backend, which we're then able to connect into our actual web application and our APIs and mobile applications as well, which lets us take all this functionality and take all the data that we're able to get out of the mobile network itself and present that to users, and also present the controls to users. So that's what allows us to present bills, to see who they're calling, and show users who they're calling and that kind of thing. It also allows us to control top-ups, credits, rates, all that type of stuff, and show users, what their billing rates are, how much their last data burst cost, and those sorts of functionality. And that allows us to do, interesting different billing models and things, which we'll talk about a bit later. Okay, and so ultimately then, on the other side of this is the internet, through which, normal users reach us through that general internet, but users who are within our operator are able to reach us directly, which allows us to provide interesting things, namely that they're able to directly connect and use our services essentially for no marginal cost within our system, which I'll show later. Okay, so after we spent a lot of time building all of that sort of complicated telco basics, we were able to start iterating more on the real sort of user-facing side of the MVNO. And so in December 2010, we were able to launch a prepay beta. So it was a very simple service, just limited to a very small set of users, mainly employees and people we knew, that were able to get on there quickly and start testing. As I said, sort of moving quickly and iterating agilely was something we found success with in building 20, and it's something we tried to apply to our MVNO as well. And as we built 2, try to incorporate that user feedback and have a tight cycle. That basically allowed us to do a lot of the quality stuff, building out the billing, building out the customer care, which we did a lot of that online, providing help and so forth, tried to integrate that into the social network itself. And then we started moving in earnest on adding sort of the basic telco type, functionality you would expect. So we launched a handset store in April of this year, which actually allows you to now buy handsets from Tuenti that can be used on 2. So you can buy a handset as well as a SIM through this store. We then launched the actual prepay at a public, so we took it out of the beta mode and allowed any Tuenti user to register for the prepay service. In September, we launched the postpay service, so that's the contractual relationship, so users can sign up for 1 year, 18-month, 2-year type contract, and that enabled us then to have cheaper phones, for example, that can be offered to those users. It also avoids the necessity that users need to top up and that kind of thing when we can just bill them at the end of the month. It makes it a simpler and more fluid user experience. And then in October, we've launched BlackBerry. So we're the 5th operator in Spain, I believe, to support BlackBerry. So we've already leaped a lot of I think all the other MVNOs in the market in that sense in providing BlackBerry support. And in November this month, we just started offline distribution of SIM cards. So we're actually now have SIM cards available in VIPs, for example, in Madrid, as well as I think maybe MediaMarkt as well. So those are some of the trials that we're doing to try and build out the service and create better ways for people to access it. And it brings us to today. All right, so what are sort of the basics and the functionality of two? So one of the interesting things to incorporate in a social operator is connecting you to your friends. And so we're actually using the social graph in our billing model and making it essentially free to call your friends. As part of our plans and as part of if you top up 10 euros a month, you get 3,000 minutes to call your friends, 3,000 SMSs, I believe, as well. And that's actually using the social graph in how you're billed. And so that's, I think, a pretty novel way to do that. And it really was part of our drive to create a service that keeps you continuously connected. And that's where it also gives you the unlimited usage of 20 applications. So it allows you to use all of our mobile applications from your phone for free. And so that lets you use all the normal features we might have through there: chat, commenting on people's stuff, viewing your feed, reacting, sharing photos, looking at friends' photos. And so that it really allows you to be at at basically no marginal cost, always connected to your friends. And so we feel that provides an interesting value and a novel way to apply our social legacy to this product. All right, BlackBerry, as I mentioned, again, it's a massively popular handset here in Spain, and it was a big objective for us to get out the door early with full BlackBerry support. It's one of the most popular of our mobile applications on Tuenti. We have our BlackBerry application has 575,000 monthly actives, so it's definitely up there, probably a little bit higher than iPhone right now in terms of our monthly actives within the given application itself. And so it's a very significant handset for us, and it was a major objective to launch BlackBerry support for our operator. Then the social bill. So as I was alluding to a little bit earlier, it's a little hard to see, but this is what an example bill for two could look like. It's actually mine, but you see there, we don't show you just sort of how many calls you've made and how much they cost. We actually show you the person you were calling, the person who was calling you, that it's yourself using data. So the bill is actually social. We're using the photos and names of your friends who you're calling and communicating with in this bill, and we're showing you that in the case of calling your friends here, those calls are all free. There was no charge for those because of the plan that you're on. And so it's a more transparent bill because we're showing you exactly what each thing costs, who you were calling, and we're showing you that we're enabling you to stay connected with your friends for free. So it's pretty powerful, and I think enriched by the fact that you have your friends' faces, social information directly in that billing interface. All right, then voicemail. So we've also been able to integrate with the traditional telco voicemail systems to, I think, do it in a relatively novel way compared to a lot of operators and certainly anyone else here. That your voicemail arrives to your Tuenti account just like any other message and essentially in real time. So as soon as the person hangs up the phone, the message gets pushed through and arrives in Tuenti, and you can play it immediately. And it arrives in a voicemail box that's on the website and can be played directly through our interface. And so you see who that voicemail came from. So if it's one of your friends, you'll see their picture and name. If it's from another number, you'll see the number, but you're still able to play and completely interact with the voicemail. And so it's a much faster and much nicer experience than dialing up your voicemail, pressing buttons or numbers or whatever, having to interact and play the next message and delete the messages or whatever. You can manage your voicemail as if it's any other type of message, and thus have complete control over it, and not even have to bother to pick up your phone, which is a pretty tedious interface to use. All right, so those are a couple of the novel features. So if you're interested in Sims, you can go on to tuenti.com/2, get a lot more information about the operator, what we're doing. If any of it's unclear, there's a bunch of user support stuff in there. We've tried to have a very novel approach to the user support, put a lot of that online. A lot of it's sort of forum-based type stuff that tries to leverage the social graph to provide a more efficient support system. And so hopefully they're able to help you out, and if not, you can also bug our communications team by just asking @2 on Twitter, and they'll tell you a lot more. So now I'm happy to take some questions. If anyone has anything they'd like to ask about, anything I can go into a bit more, and tell you about what we're doing in 2 and how we see things. Yeah, I can't. Is there a mic? Yeah, I think. Sorry. I think there's one right over here.
Good afternoon. I was wondering if your movement into the mobile phones was influenced by your purchase of, or by Telefonica purchasing you, and also were they helpful at all in, should we say, launching the program? I don't know if my question, it's 2 questions.
Yeah, sure.
And
yeah.
the third question is, was this on the drawing boards before the purchase, or was this something that you had online or, on the drawing boards before?
Yeah, so this is something we had on the drawing board before we started specifically working with Telefonica on it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's in very much something we did in partnership with Telefonica, and their, investment was really a way to very much align their interests with ours. One of the important strategic things in building an MVNO is making sure that whatever host network we're on is really interested in making us successful. And so, we came up with this concept a while before and been talking about it for a while, and talked to a couple different partners before we ended up reaching an agreement with Telefonica to do it using their infrastructure. And in the sense that they're a partner that we pay as a wholesale rate for all these things. So the functional relationship is like any other MVNO that they have, where we purchase wholesale voice, data, SMS traffic from them, and then market and resell that to our subscribers. And they've certainly, been helpful for us in supporting that and building out sort of the MVNE components that we needed to interface with their systems. And that, was a necessary part of anyone building an MVNO. Is there needs to be a fair amount of back and forth as you test out and build out all those systems. So certainly they were very helpful for us throughout that process. Sure. Other questions? Yeah.
Hi, Eric. Thanks very much for your talk. It was very, very instructive. I just want to know, what killer apps do you see could actually compel or motivate users, the vast community of users that you have on the web, to move into the mobile space? And how could you enhance their experience on the 2 network so that that experience will be better using those apps in the 2 space rather than any other operator?
Yeah, sure. So I think some of the interesting things are taking some of the apps that we certainly look at in Tuenti with 2 and have integrated are the things like voicemail. Like, I think it makes sense to expose some of that functionality in more of an app interface so you can take that with you. I think there are, certainly possibilities for integrating other types of applications and exposing APIs to do that on the mobile devices, and our ability of to sort of control sort of the data pricing and provide some flexibility on that would certainly allow us to enable certain types of applications more readily. And so one of the major features we have on Tuenti, of course, is games, and as gaming moves more and more mobile, to date it's been heavily sort of flash-based, but won't stay that way for long as handsets evolve in power and move more towards HTML5 type stuff. That'll enable more sort of mobile games that could be distributed and could leverage some of the social APIs that Tuenti can provide, and then that can be synergistic with through sort of the data model, through the fact that we allow a lot of that traffic to Tuenti to be free, and that would allow those games to run more efficiently and to basically incorporate your social data at no marginal cost to you. More questions? I think there's a couple. Sorry, I have trouble seeing from here with the lights, but I think there's, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get, she has a microphone behind a couple, yeah. Sure, sorry, so we have 8 million active users for Tuenti itself, and the phone service itself has only just recently launched, and we're not yet disclosing any actual numbers on that subscriber acquisition to begin with. I mean, we're, as I've shown, we're very much in the sort of early stages of that and proving out that model and working iteratively to build from here. And there was another.
Okay, so my question was about your target group. Which kind of target group are you trying to focus to? Because are you trying to launch the whole mobile system and just for 20 users, or you are trying to catch another kind of users, like more higher range of age, or?
Sure. So, I mean, principally right now, it's targeted mainly to Tuenti users. It's very tightly integrated with your Tuenti account, and a lot of the functionality is exposed through there. With some of the direct sort of SIM trials, where you can just buy a SIM and register it, you're able to sort of from scratch, without pre-existing Tuenti account, create one and use the service. But in the end, through registering that, you end up with a Tuenti account, so you're still a Tuenti user. So it is largely targeted to leverage our user base and to run in those traffics. And it makes, again, because we're trying to make it a social product, it has the most value if you have friends on Tuenti and are actively using the service itself. But yeah, I mean, certainly, as you get more and more of your friends on the service, it should have more value, and so people that are sort of 1 degree away from a lot of people who are on Tuenti will definitely derive value from it as well. Other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Vamos a poner.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We are going to adjourn this conference. It's I hope that some of you or most of you have got answers to some of your questions, because you are going to be an active player of this forum, of this future developments. And so it is important that we have this forum. We have to thank Telefonica, the main sponsor, and the others, Everest, Ranking.com, and also the institutional cooperator, the Alices, the Radio Televisión Española, and Iberia. Without the cooperation of all these groups, FICOR would not be a reality. And now that we are thanking people, we should thank all the workers, all the media partners who have made a great effort to make these 3 days so intense. And thank you all for taking part in all these hundreds of workshops, symposiums, and ideas. And I hope that Timo really is right, that the future is here and that we all are part of this future. It has been a pleasure to be with you these 3 days, and we see each other on the net. Thank you.